shared with the commission. So if you brought handouts, examples with you, please keep them at your seat as we cannot accept and review. I repeat, we cannot accept new information to review in today's meeting that was not submitted previously. Keith, will you please call roll?
Milner.
Present.
Jordan.
Present.
Gaines.
Present.
Poor.
Present.
Ramey.
Present.
Whitley.
Present.
With quorum.
Thank you. Procedures for today's meeting are noted in the agenda. For anyone unfamiliar with the process, please refer to the procedures section. There are 2 items we like to note specifically regarding this meeting process. These items involve certificates of appropriateness and appeals. With certificates of appropriateness, after an application is approved and the 10-day protest period expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the certificate of appropriateness to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA is issued. Please contact HP staff for final design review, inspection, or to withdraw items that will not be completed. With the appeal to Board of Adjustments, any person aggrieved by a decision granting or denying a certificate of appropriateness may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustments. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the Clerk of the Board of Adjustments. Katie, any news from the Office of Historic Preservation?
Nothing to report.
Okay, do we need to move anything today?
No.
Okay, we'll go to acceptance of minutes. Have commissioners had a chance to review the minutes from the August 6th meeting? And if so, do we have any questions or perhaps a motion to accept or modify?
I'll make a motion to approve the August 6th minutes.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Commissioners, please vote in PrimeGov.
That wasn't.
It was me or them. It was all of us. Let's pick one.
Okay, the minutes have been accepted. Katie, anything from code enforcement?
Nothing to report specifically. As always, if you see something in the code enforcement report that's in your packet each month and you have questions, reach out to staff or contact the Action Center.
Okay, any continuance announcements or requests?
We have no continuance requests on the agenda, and we have no new requests at this time.
Okay, in public hearings, I see we don't have anything in dilapidated structures or National Register nominations.
Right, we have 3 items on the consent docket. And we do have one commission member who has an item on the consent docket, so I believe he's going to recuse for that, for the consent docket, if there aren't any other questions.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any questions on any item on the consent docket?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the consent docket.
Okay, we have a motion to
Second.
approve the consent docket, and we have a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, items on the consent docket have been approved. If you were on the consent docket, congratulations, your project is approved. You have the option to stick around for the remainder of the meeting or head out. We will now get into items for individual consideration. We've got 7 on today's agenda. So we will start with item 1, HPCA-24-00094 at 428 Northwest 28th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is in Jefferson Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Shelby Weston, JHS Construction, for certificate of appropriateness to item 2, replace siding required. This was an application that was previously, there was an administrative approval from staff to remove the vinyl siding. The applicant, working back and forth with staff, with the contractor, removed the vinyl siding. There was another layer of, I think, asbestos siding or some other siding type underneath the vinyl. When they got down to the wood, determined that that siding needed to be replaced, and ultimately, after being unable to find a suitable wood siding product, put new vinyl siding back on. Because that was not part of the initial CA approval to install that vinyl siding, this is before you as a revision to that CA. So this is work that has already been completed, but you all are charged with reviewing it as if it had not yet occurred.
Katie, thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Shelby Weston, 18701 Hunter Creek Drive, Edmond, Oklahoma.
Thank you. Okay, talk to us about this project?
Yeah, so we had a supervisor, which was great to work with, Angela Yetter. She was going through the process. It took us a few months to get through the process of the appropriateness, figuring out exactly how the structure was. We went through several layers on this house. The siding was beat up. It was not able to be restored. So then we went through that, went through the next layer. It wasn't asbestos. It was something that looked like it, but it was like almost like a breakable part. It was completely deteriorated. Then we went to the wood, and the wood was a wood that is the planks are like 1x12s. They're not even created anymore. They're not something that you can get access to. So Angela and myself had been on numerous phone calls trying to figure out. We really wanted to go back with the wood. It was going to look better. It's just a cleaner look. I'm really not a big fan of siding, but once we had delivered the wood that was available that we could provide, it was too grainy. There wasn't enough. It wasn't flat enough to look really preserve what the preservation wanted. And so what we had to do was, at that point, we knew. The wood was over 50% done. There was no way to do it. Angela was having an issue with her husband. He was ill. And so when we were going back through this whole entire process, a lot of it was phone calls. We were talking. My understanding of what she said was, hey, all right, go back with the same siding that was before. And that's what we ended up doing. Did I do it correctly? I thought I did. I truly did. Did I make a mistake? I'll own any mistake I do. But I will tell you that this siding is the same siding that's on the next two houses next to it, the one across the street. It's been completely done. It looks brand new. It's amazing. We are really trying to restore the preservation. The windows, we wanted to go with vinyl. Of course, we didn't. We restored the windows, the wood windows in there. We've spent thousands of dollars on this house just trying to preserve the look and what you guys are required. So I would ask for a variance on this, and if it would be approved.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, what questions do you have on this item?
So is that basically the same siding that was on there before then, basically?
That is correct.
Okay, Commissioners, any other questions on this applicant? Okay, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? I'm going to take it that there are none that wish to speak on this. Commissioners, any other questions on this?
I'll make a motion to approve HPCA, if I can find it, 240094 with the specific findings that it's not supported by the guidelines, but it was put back to the same as it was because there was no alternative, so there was really no change to it.
Okay, we currently have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have HPCA-25-00070 at 425 Northwest 16th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is Inheritage Hills, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by Holly Hunt, HJH Design, for Melanie Reynolds for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, 2, construct new garage elective, 3, replace 6-foot wood fence elective, and 4, remove 6-foot brick wall and replace with wood fence elective. The Commission has seen this once previously. It was continued with mostly with the request that additional information be provided on the condition of the existing historic garage. The applicant has provided not one but 2 structural engineers reports, basically 2 versions of the same report with some slightly revised wording to be more consistent with the criteria in the ordinance for demolition. We have recommended approval for the items related to the fence, and I believe we've got in here continuance on the other items. The main kind of outstanding issue with the garage, which the Commission may feel is close enough, is that it is slightly larger than what the guidelines support. Sorry, let me scroll to our actual recommendation.
I think you put approve.
Approve the demo, I believe.
I think we did recommend approval for the demolition of the garage. approval for the fence, recommend approval for the demolition of the garage, and then continuing items 3 and 4 to construct the new garage and remove the brick wall and replace with a fence. So the applicant's here. We did also receive some information or some communications from a neighbor concerned about the location of the property line as shown on the site plan, but I believe they were going to attend and speak to that as well. So.
Hello.
Okay, Katie, thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes, hello, Holly Hunt, HJH Design, new address, 5913 Northwest 82nd Circle. Yeah, so, from the last meeting, it was pretty clear that everybody really appreciated the attention to detail in the replacement garage. But again, the burden of proof was on us to really prove the condition of this garage. I think it's super evident by the blind eye, the leaning of the building. And not only that, but not that, we have already met, I believe, the 50% threshold. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten a recommendation for approval from staff. But just to kind of run through this, because I know we've had some pushback from the neighborhood. I mean, this, and as well as the property line, you can see in the survey that I submitted, the current garage is over that property line to the east, and we're actually correcting that in the new construction. We'll be moving the building into the property's lines. So that's one thing. Two, this whole building is sat really low in elevation for this site. And so even if we were to try in some way to restore this, the problems would still continue. There's no way of fixing it without creating a proper footing and foundation that is above, the grade. Then as far as the building size, I did just want to point out, 5% of the lot here is 560. So we're just asking for an additional 40 square feet. And most of that it's the stairs to get up to the second floor. And if you'll notice in the 2 floor plans of the upstairs, we are mimicking that historic structure in every way possible. This is the way we preserve structures when they've gone too far. And so I think even, and not to mention, and I'll also mention, this building has already gone through many changes over the years. I mean, that's evident with the CMU block wall and that weird little extension of the roof. This is very atypical for this area and for architecture in general. So I feel like, yes, it's the historic garage, but it's grown over time as well. But then it sat neglected for over 50 years. And my clients inherited the building in its current condition. I also want to mention, this is my last comment, and I'll let you guys talk. It kind of, in the comments, it seemed like my clients are, well, hey, you bought a historic house and it's up to you to just spend endless amounts of money to preserve. My clients have done everything right since they bought this house. They hired a GC that specializes in historic design. They hired an architect. They hired engineers. They are trying to do everything according to the guidelines. And so are we. And that's our goal, is we all love this garage, and that's why we've taken so much care to preserve it through replacement. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, what questions do you have for the applicant?
Well, quick question for Katie. Does regarding the potential survey from the neighborhood and the property line location, is that mitigated by what Holly just said about this submission being removed from that?
Yeah, if we've got confirmation that the survey is accurate, that the site property lines are shown accurately, and that the proposed garage is going to be no longer over the property line, then I think that
The survey
addresses
was
that concern.
conducted by a licensed surveyor, so we're pretty certain it's quite accurate.
And y'all could submit that to staff?
That's already been submitted.
that-
It was a part of the original submission, as well as you can just look at my 2 site plans and see how the building comes into the property line as opposed to about 4 feet over.
So where's
as
the
it currently-
confusion from the neighbor if we already have a PIN survey?
So are you going to be on the property line? Is that what you're
Yes.
showing?
Yeah, we're moving it as far as possible without completely just getting into that retaining wall. I mean, we're going to be removing the brick portion mostly because it's in really bad shape and just putting up a fence there. But we can't go any farther without having to tear into the pool deck as well as the concrete curb that's existing that you can sort of see below the brick where it meets that building. So there, and again, I told you this garage is currently located pretty low elevation for this site. It's the lowest point on this property. So
So it's the property owner to the east?
yes.
Okay.
And again, we see this a lot in these districts. I mean, property lines and these setbacks weren't created at the time of the construction of these houses and these garages. So, but again, I think originally it was on the property line, and then at some point in its past, someone extended with that cement wall in order to provide for parking. I think originally it was a carriage house, and they made some modifications when automobiles became more prevalent. So again, our whole goal is to get this fully onto our property. And again, typical setbacks don't really apply in Historic Preservation Commission districts because we see this throughout the neighborhood, garages sitting on property lines, But
So-
we'll be fully inside the property line.
If it's on the property line, then you're probably not going to be allowed to have windows on that side elevation of the structure. So that's one thing that we may need to include
Look
a
at.
condition about, or that would come back as a revision at some point.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is probably, I understand the rules for that, but given the layout of the neighbor's house, there's no driveway on that side, there's no, again, I get it, when we do new construction, we need to come into compliance, but again, we've replaced that ordinance with the guidelines, so to me, what's most important is the guidelines and their intent to preserve the structure. And I feel like we're acclimating this historic structure as best we can by keeping it as close to its current location.
Yeah, you're talking
Yeah,
about
I'm
fire
talking about,
separation
yes,
distance.
yeah, fire separation.
Fire separation distance. Code will overrule the guidelines.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I still feel like perhaps some kind of variance or something could be met because no one else in this area has to do that.
But for new construction, they do. I mean, new
No, but I
construction.
think it really, really disrupts the pattern of the historic site.
So I think we could include, well, there's a couple of options. One is to figure out a way to get it a couple of feet off the property line. Another is to include a condition that if required by building code, fire code, the windows
Absolutely.
may be removed. Yeah, I mean, they're only going to be visible from within the neighbor's yard anyway.
And
so.
if you all are okay with us just not doing windows on that side, I'm perfectly fine with that. Our whole thought here was just to, again, approximate that existing structure as best we can. And if those windows have to go, again, I think you're right, visibility is very minimal on that east wall. And if that's a way, we can get there, I think that I'm fine with that condition of approval to remove those windows. I just wouldn't want me removing the windows to force you all to feel like it wasn't approximating the historic garage. So it's like a weighing of,
Yeah, I think they look great, but, we can make a condition that if.
I think
yeah,
that's
if
great.
code makes you remove them, then we're still okay with that.
Great.
Holly,
be
help
great.
me understand the need for the two structural assessments with the slightly varied language.
Yeah.
No, like,
I'm sorry,
can you
was
help
there a
me
question?
understand?
I
Just like,
can't see your mouth.
why are they
so-
both provided? Why the slightly varied
That was-
language?
The GC provided one personally. This was prior to the last meeting. That was like for the deadline for the last meeting. They felt like it needed to be a third party. Do you know what I mean? Because he is the GC on the job. They have an in-house engineer.
Right, but Katie, you were
So we
saying
did
that
a third party.
there's a note in here that we have two structural reports from David Gaskeb.
Oh, maybe, just a revised one with the language? Is that what?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
We got one structural engineer's report after the last meeting, and then shortly after that, we got yet another structural engineer's report from the same person with just different
Right.
language.
And all of that was handled by the GC, so it sounds like maybe the staff and that they had some conversation I wasn't privy to. But I think the whole point here is just to get that language where you guys can apply it in in the approval process because, engineers look at things from a building safety standpoint, and when you're talking about the guidelines and about, the inability to rehabilitate the structure without a loss of materials, these are things that engineers don't necessarily use in their reports unless directed to. But you'll see in the reports they say the same thing.
Okay, commission members, any other questions for the applicant on this project?
I was just going to ask staff, I assume the information about the fence, she could get to you and you
Yes.
approve administratively?
Yes.
I'd like to hear from the neighbor about
I'm happy
the
with that condition.
sightline, the border.
Yeah.
Want to speak?
Yeah, let's go ahead and call if there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item. Yep, you can come forward. And if you would, just please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Matt Bell, and the address is 421 Northwest 16th Street. I own the property exactly adjacent to this which is applied. And I've reviewed the plans, and these plans are inaccurate, and they have some omissions as well. The existing site plans do not show the correct location of the existing garage. And so if you compare the existing site plans with the proposed site plans, you would be under the impression that the footprint of the garage is going to be shifted to the west by about 4 feet. And basically that the north wall would remain in the same position. Actually, but if they build it in relationship to the actual property lines that are known and that are reflected on a survey that I had done recently, the garage will actually be shifted about 4 feet to the south, and it would remain basically where it is. The other sort of thing that is omitted is that there's some sheds on that brick wall that would really prevent. There's another photo that's got the sheds, but if they make this thing wider, they're not going to be able to get a car in there. Basically, is the way I see it. But I actually, since I had a survey done, it shows that, like, if you look at the site plans, it literally says that the existing garage is encroaching 4 feet, 3.5 inches, but really the property line is right there where the fence is. It's not 4 feet to the west.
But the building goes back behind that fence. You're right, that is the property line, but do you see how that building extends into
Right.
that yard?
It extends 3.5 inches, not 4 feet.
So I'm confused because if what you're saying is correct, you're saying that existing building is not encroaching more than 3 inches?
It's encroaching about 3.5 to 4 inches, yes.
So
Yeah, the concrete masonry unit wall is more or less on the property line, just 3 inches over. And the fence is just inside of the property line on my side. That's my fence. That's another issue I have is if they bring this thing forward 4 feet and they make it wider, then they're going to have to take down that entire panel of that fence to even build it. The other question I have is, how can you even build it without trespassing? How can you even maintain it without trespassing?
but isn't that the current state?
Yes, it is the current state. And the thing about that is they can't maintain it because it's on the property line. And potentially that's one reason why it's in such condition.
So if they're moving it to the west, help me understand how it remains on your side of the property line.
They're not moving it to the west.
Are you moving it to the west?
They're moving it to the west by 3.5 inches. 3.5 inches, not 4 feet, as the plans show.
Well, so that would be verified by staff after completion. I mean, they go out and they check those things. So the CA is only the CA would be granted based on what she's proposed today, assuming that it is factual and true. And if it's not, that's a problem after construction begins.
So it sounds like there's a discrepancy in the surveys is what you're saying, but the intent is to place the building on the property line, which is the current, more or less the current state.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not, even though the survey information may be varied, the intent is the same in both scenarios.
Yeah, and I would be fine if they wanted to build the same exact garage in the same exact place. That would be totally fine. That CMU wall is about 8 feet 6 inches tall. And it's like 18 feet wide, and so and then you have that shed, and so it's set back about 4 feet, is what I'm saying. And that actually, the Sanborn maps, if you look at those, all of them show this garage as being set back by, there's space between the property line and the garage. At some point, as Holly even mentioned in the last meeting, she said that it was added onto, and it's obvious that it's been added onto. It was made wider to fit a car in there, and that's when that concrete wall was built on the property line, unpermitted, without a survey, and that's why we have an encroachment existing.
Okay, so survey discrepancy aside, what you're talking about is the intent is to place the structure, new structure, on the 5-foot easement line on the north in both scenarios, existing and new. And the property line, yes, that's correct. The east is going to be on the property line. Your discrepancy that you're taking issue with is that the garage structure itself is 3 foot 2 inches deeper to the south.
I mean,
So that's the objection, is that it's coming farther south by approximately 3 feet.
Yes. So if you look at the existing site plan, where the garage is, it shows that they're already observing the utility easement. That's incorrect. If you look at the photo of the back, I think it's on there. I mean, it shows that they're 4 feet into that utility easement. Where that power pole is, that's where the corner of the building is. They are 4 feet into it. And so then if you switch over to the proposed, they're bringing the whole thing forward 4 feet off the utility easement. So they're bringing it forward 4 feet. Then if you look at the existing if you look at the encroachment on the existing, it shows that it's encroaching 4 feet, 3.5 inches, but really it's only encroaching 3.5 inches.
I guess I'm trying to understand what the objection is.
My objection is that you have inaccurate plans, and you can't actually assess the scale, the mass, and the sizing based on these plans.
Okay. So aside from accuracy, is there another objection?
Yeah. So you see the two-story structure there right now. The upstairs wall, the second-story wall is set back 4 feet. Can you tell that difference? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that upstairs wall is going to be on the property line. It's going to be 4 feet closer. Yes, it absolutely will.
We're going into the property to the west.
Oh, he's saying because the wall's going straight up and it doesn't jog back in the new proposed garage.
It'll be 4 feet over that way when it goes.
So it'll be where the old
Right,
wall.
that's the survey discrepancy issue. You're saying, yeah.
Look,
Were both of your surveys performed by a licensed surveyor?
Absolutely,
Have they both
yes.
been submitted to staff?
I have actually emailed it to the staff, yes.
Okay.
Have we do have
So
that, but
I did get an email. We didn't include it in the comments because Matt indicated he was going to come and speak. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. It's not
personally,
attached to
I don't think it's my responsibility to submit a survey for their project. Their survey, if you just look, that is my fence, and their driveway goes all the way up to the property line and is actually over a little bit. I don't know why they think that my property extends into their driveway by 4 feet. That doesn't make sense.
I'm confused, and I think I'll ask staff first. I hear it's being built on the property line, but it's only 3.5 inches over the property line, but I'm hearing it's being moved 4 feet, which would mean it's
That's
not.
the discrepancy between the surveys.
But no, okay, so.
So the
right
survey
now-
discrepancies have a 4-foot difference?
Yeah.
I would say
Because that's almost unheard of.
if that's true and his survey is more accurate than mine, then that only benefits the whole project in general, because we'll be
How?
farther off the property line. He is suggesting that the property line is farther east than what I show. He is suggesting this property line is here, where that driveway line is. You can see mine.
3 inches instead of 4
shows a
feet.
gap. You know, the property line's a dark line, there's the driveway line. So yes, I'm showing quite an encroachment based on my survey. Okay, so our whole intent was to move the building into our property line this direction.
So are you still intending to move the building over 4 feet?
Yes, yes, sir.
Which would put it 3.5 feet approximately away from the property line?
Yeah, I have actually, I reached out to the applicant, not Holly, but the actual neighbors there. I asked them, I said, look, there's a I said, hey, I looked at your plans, you show this as encroaching 4 feet 3 inches, but I just had a survey done, it's encroaching 3.5 inches. So, that would indicate to me that the boundary lines on the site plans are off by 4 feet, exactly.
So how does it impact this project? These neighborhoods have been surveyed 100 times. I just had a survey done last month at my house. It's different from the one that the previous owners had done. It happens. It's a common condition of living down here, down there.
Yeah.
How does this impact the project? If they move it further away from the property line, how does it impact the project?
Yeah, because if you approve this based on these plans and they demolish the garage, and then they go and get a building permit and say, we got an approval to build this exactly on the property line, they're going to build it exactly on the property line.
Right, but they have provided a survey performed by a licensed surveyor. It's not, their word versus your word. It was provided from a licensed professional. So, we have to assume that that is the property line because the person licensed to determine the property line has told us that it is the property line.
But staff does have the survey from him that shows the property line is different from the...
Yes, I haven't sat and compared the two closely because I knew he was going to come to the meeting. I can certainly look at that when we get back to the office and compare. I will say that where the property line is and disputes about who's on whose side of the property line are really not the commission's responsibility to decide. When they go to get a building permit, they're going to show where they've verified the property lines are and get permission to build it where they've said they're going to build it. And if there's a dispute between neighbors, then that's really between neighbors. It's not the commission's role to solve that.
Yeah, and I guess because even the proposed site plan shows the existing driveway that has that 4'2" discrepancy. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is I think the proposed plan is satisfying what your concern is relative to where it's not so much where that property line is, it's showing that it's moving over from where that existing condition is.
Yeah, and that's why I asked for clarification. I just said very basically, are you going to build this footprint 4 feet to the west, or are you going to build it on the property line? And I was referred to the client's attorney, and the plans show it being built 4 feet to the west, but also being built exactly on the property line.
Right, because based on their information, they're two in the same. But based on your information, it's not, but it's still meeting the intent. That wall is drawn where the current second floor wall is.
Yeah, so even with my survey though, that would mean that my property, my 80-foot lot is shifted over to the west by 4 feet, and that means that I would have a 1 foot setback on my garage apartment, which I currently have a 5 foot setback.
Okay, right. So I think for the action of this committee, what I'm trying to get to is including some sort of condition that meets what your concern is, which is that the current massing location is not encroaching further into your property. That second floor wall is not moving further to the east than it currently sits. That's what I'm reading as your concern, right?
I mean, personally, I would not, I mean, it's going to increase significantly in size because right now, the second story wall that's right there in this photo is set back 4 feet. That second story wall, as proposed, would be
let me
on
cut
the
you off because
property.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't agree with what you're saying. That's okay. What is the objection? Is that the massing is going to further encroach into your property than the current massing is today? Is that the concern?
My concern is that it's the massing is going to be a lot greater than what it is right now.
Okay.
It's going to be 8 feet forward. It's going to be 4 feet more significant to this direction and
Okay.
taller.
Okay.
And that is definitely my concern.
Okay.
Not only that, but I mean they can't build it without taking the fence down and trespassing.
And you won't grant that?
I mean, I definitely would be open to working with the neighbor. I mean, I hope they can, improve their property. I would like to support them, actually.
Well, if your survey is right, then they're building it 4 feet off of that fence, which means that they won't need to take that down and they will not be trespassing. So
Yeah, I mean-
if your survey's right, like you say it is, then there's no problem, right?
I would be absolutely happy if they built this on a 4-foot setback from the property line, as I know the property line to be.
Great.
I think we just need to strongly encourage applicant neighbor to compare surveys, because again, we don't have purview over that.
Correct.
Noting, yes,
All of that will occur at the next phase of this.
Yeah,
I mean, when we
yeah.
go downtown to get all of this will be worked out to the nth
Right.
degree. The traffic, the utilities, all of these.
yeah.
Great.
And I just want to be, this is a setback. When they at one time there was an alleyway back there, or like at least parceled out for one that was closed. That's why it appears that we're sitting on the property line. That's just where the fence is.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
let's let some other neighbors
Yeah,
speak.
thank you for your time today. I think we've got
No problem.
comments from any other citizens that wish to speak on this
Sure.
item?
I mean, I do have other observations, quite honestly. Like the plans do omit the sheds. And if you look at the site plan, are they going to remove the sheds?
I think what we need to have you do is just talk to the applicant when we're done here, because they're here.
Okay.
And then you guys kind of get on the same page there, because we do have other members of the public who wish to speak on this item.
Okay,
So
sure.
thank you.
Yep.
Just real quickly, I did hear him say something about us ruining that 8-foot panel of fence. I know my homeowners would be more than happy to replace the fence if
Okay,
it needed.
thank you.
I promise I won't comment on the survey or lack thereof.
It's okay, just as long as you state your name and address for the record.
No lack thereof. We have too many.
1 North Chartel Avenue. Just a couple of questions about the design of the new structure. That was a beautiful structure at one time. You can still tell that. And it's, I guess our questions to Holly. Holly, on those almost Palladian windows, were the tops of those ever glass?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and from the drawings, it looks like a lot of the features will be on the new,
Absolutely.
okay? And Katie, how much size difference is there in the new one than the
Let me see.
existing one?
I think it was 40 square feet.
I'm sorry,
40 square feet?
40 square
Well,
feet?
it's 40 square feet larger than what the guidelines would say based on the lot size.
Sorry,
It is, yeah, you're good. The existing garage is approximately 514 square feet, and they're going to 600. So 86 square feet larger.
I'll let you all solve that problem, but in general, we appreciate the effort to replicate the design of the old one and are supportive in general of this project. And You can get back to surveys now if you'd like, so.
Thank you.
So I would say if we are moving toward a motion to approve, we could include a condition to allow for removal of the windows on the east side of the garage if required by code, and to allow for shifting over of the garage up to 5 feet if necessary based on the survey.
Aren't those both things that are not in our purview but are in the city planning's purview?
Well, I'm just saying that way they don't have to come back to commission to make those changes. If they get to plan review and plan review says move the garage, take out the windows, et cetera, but it's just already captured in the CA.
Okay.
I'm fully amenable to those conditions.
Okay, commissioners, any other comments or questions on this item?
I will make a motion to approve HPCA 25-00070 with the specific findings and specific findings in the staff report, with the additional conditions that the applicant will provide the documentation needed for the fencing, that they may remove the second floor windows on the east elevation if the city requires it, and they may shift the garage up to 5 feet to the west should the survey come back needing to move it.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve with conditions, and we have a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has
Thank you,
been
Commissioners.
approved. Appreciate it.
Do we have the fence?
What?
Was
What about-
another item on that? No. Okay, no, we're good.
That was a
Okay.
motion to approve all items.
Sorry,
So,
okay.
Yeah,
That's all
sorry.
right.
Still lacking one.
Okay, next up, we have HPCA-25-00092 at 119 Northwest 18th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is in, 119 Northwest 18th Street. This is in Heritage Hills East, Ward 6. This is an application by Gary and Shelley Taft Living Trust for a certificate of appropriateness to item 5, remove vinyl and underlying wood siding required. 6, replace siding with fiber cement hardy plank siding required. And 8, replace balcony railing required. That pretty much says it all. They've requested permission to remove the vinyl and the underlying wood and to go back instead of with wood with a hardy plank product. And then to replace the balcony railing. Staff has recommended continuance on the siding. The guidelines do not support the use of fiber cement except in limited locations with minimal visibility. And then there were concerns about the proportions of the railing in comparison to the historic railing located at this property.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Okay, please forgive me, first of all. I cannot hear anything you're saying, hardly, okay? I
We will try to
apologize.
enunciate.
Pardon me?
We will try to speak clearly. I know the acoustics in
Thank
this
you.
room
I'm sorry, I
are.
all right.
apologize.
It's all right. If you
Okay,
could
my
just-
name's Gary
Yep.
Taft. I live at 119 Northwest 18th.
Thank you. And tell us about this project.
The project, redone the whole house, you know, from what that looks like, basically, you know. Were you going to talk about the portico railing or the siding? Or
I think, both.
okay,
Just, yeah,
the
tell us about
portico-
both,
The
yeah.
portico railing, that is not safe at all, and that's what I go by. That's 2 foot high, and the boards are probably 16, 18 inches wide, and there's a door on that side of the house where kids or people can go out on that area, and I just, I thought it was a safety issue. And I didn't want, you know, small children falling off that. And I don't think my insurance company would appreciate it either. It's a duplex. There's a top and a bottom. It's 117, 119. So it's 2 complete different living areas in that house.
And you did say there is a door that goes out onto that?
Yes, there's a door on that side of the house that goes out onto that portico right there.
So it is a pretty justified safety concern, but we have approved a few alterations of railings like this really in the past couple of months. I think we've had one on 18th Street in which we allowed them to increase the height by bringing up the bottom, so it kept the proportions of that horizontal railing intact. Is that something you would be open to?
Bring up the bottom? That still allows kids to go, it's like 6 inches there, so a kid can't get underneath and he can't get between the runners. And it's, 4 foot 6 inches, I believe. So the kids can't get over the top of it. I mean, you turn a child loose and that's just a safety issue, to me, okay?
To me, I would almost advocate for leaving the historic railing like it is and then placing a non-historic railing behind it. I don't know what your roof structure is.
So what I failed to say is this work has all already occurred.
It's already occurred. Okay.
So, yeah.
It's like that now.
It's like,
Oh,
okay. Understood.
Unfortunately, it wasn't one of those things that we planned on doing and going outside the box. It was to keep the house within the guidelines of everything, and certain things just start happening. This was it. And the siding's the same way. We're working on the back of the house, the siding's falling down. I tell the contractor to get up there and inspect that and put it back up, because we didn't intend to do the siding at all. And all of a sudden he gets up there and the wood's falling down, and I'll say raccoons or whatever they'd got in there, and there's leaves and stuff in there, and it just rotted all the way down. It just, once you catch it, and you'll see a lot of houses in Heritage Hills that's got the corners rotted on them. So we took that off. We made the call. It wasn't my intent to change it at all. It's just, there I go, there's a $40,000 expense I'm looking at to make this change that I've got to make because the house is falling down and we got stuff inside already completed.
Did your
So-
contractor know that it was a historic district?
Well, okay, I would say yes, because the historical, one of the
Committee.
neighborhood people are guy that drives around the vehicle or whatever, they do historical work. They had a list of contractors on this and that they give me, because I didn't know who to find to work on this house, so didn't run into a situation. And he was one of the guys on there, and he's the only one that got back to me to do the work. So, I mean, we just started tearing all the vinyl siding off. It was busted. And when you have the vinyl siding and you put that foam behind it, you trap that moisture and everything behind it just rots, falls apart. So we replaced it.
This just up on your screen right now is what the railing looked like previously.
Yes.
And then this is the current railing that's there now.
Yes.
So I think there's a couple easier things you could do to get it closer. I mean, A, we would encourage you to paint it, because historically wood railings were painted. And then 2, you'll notice in the old railing you had kind of that kind of bigger corner post.
The corner posts, I believe, are the same size.
Yes, but those usually are taller than the rest
Yeah,
of the
the other
railing.
ones are taller because we raised it up. So that there is probably, maybe even the other one is 2 foot tall.
I think she means in proportion to the rest of the railings.
Yeah, proportionally.
It's prominent
Yes.
compared to the remainder of the railing.
Well, yeah, but in order for it to be safe so kids don't get over it, you have to have it that tall.
Right, but even if we increase the size of the rail overall so that it is safe, we still want to see it mimic historic proportions. So we want those corner pieces to sit higher and we want it to be painted.
Sure, I can paint it brown like the rest of it, but it's not gonna, then you're just asking yourself to paint it once a year.
We're asking you to paint it once a year.
Whatever you want. I mean, I can,
Yeah, you
Sure,
can paint
that's
it whatever color you want. We
that's a
don't have
small-
purview over colors.
well, yeah, I mean, I see pink porches and everything else, so they can do what they want to do, apparently.
Will you go to page 5 on the handout, please? think, because I'm trying to, why is this not?
I'm in the attachment. I'm not in the handout.
Oh, okay. All right, then forget. What they're specifically talking about is on the old railing, the corner post was much larger. No, hold on. It was taller and bulkier than the remainder of the wood, right there on the corner.
Yeah,
See how
on that
you can
corner
see
post
that?
against the
See how
wall.
you see that so much more than you actually do the railing? We would like to see the new corner post stand out more, be more prominent, be larger than the rest of it so you get that same look. Where the railing that was built there, the corner post just blends in with the...
Because we got the other boards turned sideways.
Right, so put a bigger post at the
Everything was
corner.
wide. That's a 6x6 post like
Right.
we took off the house.
So I think what we would like to see is exactly like it was, but bigger.
Okay, can we just extend those posts to where it's above so the post sticks out with a more of a look than the... Is
Then
that
you're
the
going to have
answer?
a
I mean,
6-foot post.
is that the answer? Raise the post up, 4 or 6 inches so you see that post?
No, it's not raise it up 6 inches. It is, as you look at that picture right there,
Yes.
the corner post blends in with the remainder of the railing.
That's an easy fix.
Make it, I would say, a little taller, a little wider.
I'll put a 12 by 12 on it. Nail it on there, it's fine. Easy fix.
Well, before you do that, provide staff with what you're going to do and see if they can approve it or can make a recommendation to the board to approve it. Just don't go do it.
Sure. Oh. Well, I'm here now.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then-
I can,
Yeah.
it is what it is, that's fine.
And I will state, I personally don't have a problem, since there is a door that goes out there, and if you were building that new today, you would want to make sure that you would have code and guidelines you would have to follow. I think it's totally appropriate to make these old houses safe under today's standards and what we know today versus what we knew back then when they were built. I personally feel that that is a unique circumstance to allow for a safe railing to go around there. And
That was my
I
intention.
also heard you say it's a duplex.
Yes.
Is part of it, do you live in part and part is rented?
No, I don't rent it, it's there, and I have guests stay, and my grandkids are always over playing and stuff.
Totally understand. You want them to be safe. So
Yes,
to me,
yeah.
that's a unique circumstance to allow for the larger railing, but just do your best to give us that same
I can
look.
do that real, I can put a top layer on it, a little bit of something to make it look.
Make sure they like it first, and that they're going to tell us to
Okay.
approve it.
And then tell us
So I'll get
about,
with Angie on that once I start.
Yes.
Okay, not a problem.
okay, tell us about the siding.
So as you can see, I mean, it's a brick structure, but the siding and soffit material had been vinyl.
Oh,
that was
I see.
removed,
Okay,
and
yeah,
then
okay.
and then they went back with a fiber cement product,
And,
and that's in the, I think, in the soffit and in the gable ends.
okay.
I see, okay.
This takes me to a question for staff that kind of goes back to the first one. So we have the fiber cement up there. The preference would be to have wood, but since he removed vinyl siding, would vinyl be allowed to go back up there as it was on the first?
So typically, we would say once vinyl comes off, you have to go back to the historic material underneath.
But if
Yeah.
the historic material wasn't available, then at that point you can start going back towards, is that what I'm
Well,
kind of confused.
that was kind of the unique circumstance with that previous one, that we had layer upon layer of non-historic material. They couldn't find a match for the wood, and so they went from vinyl back to vinyl. In general, what the guidelines would say is once you remove more than half of the non-historic material, then you need to go back with what was historic.
Right, and on this one, do we know what historic material was removed and is it available?
It would have been wood underneath. I'm looking for what we,
It was like that hardy board on the back of the vinyl, the foam, the styrofoam. That's why all the boarding separated and come apart. Anytime you get moisture between that layer, it just,
yeah, so I
rots
think they
that
had
material behind
vinyl
it.
siding and then some sort of insulating material between and then wood siding underneath,
Right.
so.
And I guess our question or my question is, I know it is,
Maybe it's my.
the wood siding, what was the wood siding underneath, and is that available to replace?
Right. And I don't know that we know that at this point.
Okay.
For the soffit, that would typically have been a tongue and groove type soffit material, and we know that that's readily available. We see people use that on a regular basis. That's something we can administratively approve. We know lots of types of wood siding are readily available, but I don't know in this case, and I'm not sure if our applicant or if Angela knows what the wood siding was, the profile, et cetera, underneath the vinyl.
I think that we should continue this until we have more information. It was only a unique circumstance in the last case because we knew that what was originally there was no longer available. So why don't we get to a place of some conditions on the balcony and continue the siding?
I think Marva has a comment.
Okay.
Do what now? I'm sorry.
I think we have a member of the public who wants to speak.
Oh, okay, sure.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm still Marva Ellard, and I still live at 1521 North Chartel. I think we'd request that the railing and newel post design on the balcony be more refined than it looks currently. And some of the vertical members were very bulky, so we're happy for staff to deal with that. This is a really pretty building. My guess is that siding was redwood, but that's what we found on a lot of things. They still make it. It's pricey. But we would ask, just because we ask this all the time, the work was done without a CA. People come in every month and get CAs to do work to be able to do work before they start. So people who do work before a CA, we just ask that they be held to that same standard.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Okay, commissioners, do we have any other comments, or do we have motions on these items?
I'll make a motion for HPCA 25-00092. I motion to continue item 5 to the, let's see, is it October 3rd? What is it?
5 and 6.
It's October 1st or November 5th.
Oh, sorry. Items 5 and 6 to the October 1st meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to continue items 5 and 6 to the October 1st meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Caitlin.
Oh,
I
sorry,
think
we already
Caitlin
have a
already
second. I'm
seconded.
so sorry. We have a second. Commissioners, please cast your
Maybe
votes.
the next meeting, I'm out of town that weekend.
Oh, sure. I will amend that to be the November meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Is that right?
Do we have that? Are we good to continue? Okay, commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, items 5 and 6 have been continued to the November commission hearing.
Okay, I will make a motion for the same CA to approve item 8 with the agreed upon condition that the applicant works with staff to approximate the finished product and dimensions of the original railing with consideration to safety.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 8 with conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, item number 8 has been approved with conditions. Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, we have HPCA-25-00093 at 628 Northwest 16th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is Mesta Park, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by Brittany Portree, James Gray Homes for Ashley and Forrest Wilson for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct addition, including demolition, elective, 2, remove enclosed window at first floor west side, elective, 3, install new windows and widen opening, first floor west side, elective, and 4, enlarge window opening and install new window and shutters, second floor west side, elective. This is a project that the commission has seen previously. It is a new application. The initial application was withdrawn. The applicant went back to the drawing board. So this is revised from what you last saw. It is an addition proposed to the rear and side of the historic structure. The addition is set back from the front of the house by approximately 16 feet and then extends out about 6 feet to the side of the house. Then in addition to that component of the project, there's a proposal to item 4 is to enlarge a window opening in a space that is being turned into a bedroom. So egress will be required. That window will enlarge to meet those requirements. And then items 2 and 3 are for the modification of windows on that side of the house, the west side of the house, to take a set of windows, extend them further toward the front of the house, and remove a window that kind of abuts where they are extending to. Staff has provided a recommendation of approval for item 1, construct the addition. We've recommended either a continuance or there's also, I think, a recommendation in there for denial on items 2 and 3, and then we've recommended approval for item 4, enlarging the window.
Katie, thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes. Good afternoon. David Box, 525 Northwest 11th Street, here on behalf of the applicant. As Steph indicated, this is one that you heard, I think, a couple times, and I was brought in at some point after that. My suggestion to the client was to withdraw it. Let's go back, let's meet with staff, let's find a design that staff would find more pleasing than what was there before. So I think we've done that as evidenced by staff's recommendation. What we are proposed in terms of the addition, if staff could display, there's a site plan that we produced as part of this that really kind of highlights the limited visibility that you will have of this addition. It's in the back. I don't know that you'll be able to see it at all from the right-of-way. So items 1 and 4, as staff said, they recommended approval. Well, it's okay. So item 2 and 3 are modifications of that west elevation. We understand that it is forward to that 30% number. However, it is minimally visible from the right-of-way. It's an important design element for our project in this remodel, and we think that, coupled with the very minimal visible impact that you'll have from the right-of-way, that it would warrant your consideration. I do want Britt to come up here and walk through a little bit about the design inspiration and why that is an important concept to this. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll come back after, but I do want her to walk through it because I think it's important for full context.
Thank you.
While you're walking up, I'll just say we have many, many, many pages of documents. So if there's something you want me to pull up and show, let me know, but it might take me a second to find it. So.
Yeah, well, this part of the design hasn't changed since
And please state your name and address.
Oh, yes.
For the record.
My name
Sorry.
is Brittany Portree. I'm with James Gray Homes. This project is 628 Northwest 16th Street.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
This part of the design on that west side hasn't changed from the first or second revisions that you guys saw in the last application. What we're hoping to do is accommodate this family of 5 so that they can have a space so that they can host, bring all members of the neighborhood. They actually just moved here less than a year ago, and they're already meeting with their neighbors and going over to other people's homes. And so I think that this is going to be a space where they're going to host and bring in a lot of love and hospitality. To do that, they're asking for a larger kitchen. One of the big things that we wanted to highlight in this home was the set of 3 windows that's already in the kitchen. Right now, and we've discussed this last time, but just to joggle your memory, it is going from the back to the front, it's a casement window, fixed window. What we propose is to fill out that set, making that fixed window in the middle with 2 casement windows forward of that. And the reason we chose that width of window was that it reflects the other set of windows that are in that part of the neighborhood.
Okay, commissioners, what questions do we have for the applicant?
I was looking at, and I'm sorry, there are a lot of pages here.
Yes. Yes.
So bear with me. So I noticed in the existing versus the proposed, the pool is gone. I asked staff about it. I'm not seeing, I think, Katie, that you said it had been administratively approved for removal, but I'm not seeing it anywhere in any of this.
It, I think, is on a future docket for administrative approval.
Okay,
So it
thank you.
hasn't been issued yet.
Okay.
Angela, did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say it'll become effective on September 10th. It's still in the public notice phrase.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think where you're going to get the most pushback is the large bank of windows in the kitchen. So why don't we just talk about that?
Sure. Talk about it.
Come on up.
Well, so again, I understand the natural hesitation when it comes to that. We submitted some pictures. I don't know who was driving this. It really is a window that is very minimally visible when you are driving this stretch or even walking this stretch. And so we think that it's a much better design with what is proposed in the remodel to have those windows that really highlight what's going on there. Right now, it's a bit of a hodgepodge, the technical legal term, I think, of different windows lining that western elevation that really has no consistent flow. If you go to our image, we think what we're bringing to bear is something that will have consistent flow and be more attractive. There you go. I think that, yeah, that's a good, for that west elevation. Understand it is north of that 30 number, but I think it's not significantly towards the front. I do think it's a minimal encroachment, and it's an important design piece.
So the dashed lines on here, the dashed lines on this drawing are showing the rearmost line is what we believe is the rear of the original footprint of the house, and there's an addition on the back. So we talked with the applicant about looking at what's the rear 30%, which is where we allow for more flexibility and changes to windows and doors, the rear 30% of the original footprint of the house. So you can see that the existing 3 windows are within that rear 30%, but then where it extends forward is outside of that rear 30%. So that's what that's illustrating. And then these were views submitted by the applicant of kind of street views of that side of the house.
Yeah, and so you've got a little bit of a unique circumstance because of the way that wall exists to our west, which makes it even more of a minimal impact.
Are you talking about the circumstance that you can't see it, or?
Yeah, it's more obscured than if it didn't have that wall, if it didn't sit below that western property. We think the impact is minimal.
So is the current smaller window covered up?
No, I think they
No.
did that. That was like a Photoshop.
Yeah,
to
to
give the idea of.
And we are going to repurpose that window in the addition.
Do we have a photo that shows that window with the other window? I mean, I'd just like to see it. I
Yeah,
mean,
let me.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
There it is, okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of feel like it's not that visible compared to what's already there. Like you're losing what looks like that much, wall from the street. I'll be honest, it doesn't bother me.
No, doesn't bother me either.
And what is the actual square footage of the addition come to be?
690.
690?
Yeah, and something David didn't mention, we spent a lot of time working with staff and our contractors to make sure that we're filling in that brick appropriately on this west elevation. If you go to one of the diagram of that west elevation, we're going to go back with aluminum clad wood windows. We're working with Pella to get the correct LVT. We have a detailed description in one of the many pages that we've submitted, again, sorry about that, about exactly how we're going to go back with that brick so that it could look very seamless. And then, yeah, we're wanting to, I know that it's not required, but we love historic homes. We want to honor the historic context. Take that smaller window and then it's going to be in the new primary bathroom.
So I think it's really pretty, and I agree with you. It doesn't bother me either, but I do think we probably need a little bit more for, we need a unique circumstance rather than just we think it's pretty. So what can we give it?
I think it would just be that it's minimally visible from the street.
You have elevation change, you have a solid concrete wall to our west, and minimally visible from the street.
And I don't think the current window pattern on that face is significant. It's sort of reflectant of the interior program.
Yeah, you got
It's
all
not a
different
pattern.
sizes. They're not aligned with each other.
Do we think it's been altered at some point, that window pattern?
Well, if they did an addition at some point, then very well could have changed.
Well, the addition's rear a bit. I do think it's visible, but I'm not saying I won't go for it because of that. I just think it would be a stronger, unique circumstance if it was that these windows weren't original in their existing locations or it had already been altered in some way.
So the fact that it's a combination of casement and fixed windows is a little bit unusual, and then the single window that's proposed to be removed, Angela, correct me if I'm remembering incorrectly, but I think that one has some brickwork underneath it. No, is that a different? Will you come up? Sorry. There's some suspicious brickwork that suggests something has been done at some point.
Suspicious brickwork, I like that.
Yeah.
There is
That's our
some
unique
suspicious
circumstance.
brickwork
Unique
beneath
circumstance.
the larger set of windows. There is what appears to possibly have been an enclosed door, an expansion of that opening, while the smaller window, in my opinion, appears to be in a historic location.
Sarah, to answer your question also, we know that the house has been touched at least twice in its history. Angela and I have been going back and forth about how exactly that has been touched. I also know that shutters have been added to all of the windows at some point, and so it's not provable, but it's arguable that it has been touched.
I would prefer, if we move forward with it, to issue the unique circumstance that the windows have already been altered from their original
that's fine.
materials or locations or whatever. Also, just because it is currently at just in your plans, it's currently sitting at, I think you have 70% lot coverage before any of the work that you've proposed. So we had this come up last month on a house just a couple of blocks from there, and we approved it with the condition that the pool be filled in as it was proposed, because we can't actually force somebody to execute a CA on which they were approved, so we want to make sure that it doesn't jump to like 80% all of a sudden by leaving the pool.
Yeah, we're fine with that condition.
Let me ask, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? There appears to be none. Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
I just want to say that I think you did a really, really nice job of executing this. I know you came through several times, and I think comments from all the commissioners were all over the place, and no one had a good way of giving straightforward advice, I think. But I think you took that and worked with staff really well, and I think that I just want to say you did a really nice job, and I think this will.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any other questions, comments for the applicant? If not, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion. I was trying to see if there were any other conditions listed in this packet. Do you know offhand, Katie?
I think we may have some conditions related to providing final window documentation
Okay.
specifications.
Okay. Let's see. For HPCA 25-00093, I motion to approve items 1 through 4 with the specific findings and the conditions already listed in the staff report. And additionally, with the unique circumstances mentioned in the staff report and the added unique circumstance that the windows cited in item 3 are presumed to be altered from their original materials and locations and are minimally visible. And with the agreed upon condition that the pool is filled in prior to implementation of the rest of this project.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve with conditions, unique circumstances, and what? And
Agreed upon conditions.
Yeah, agreed upon conditions. Do we have a second?
Oh, I forgot. Wait, no, I mentioned the agreed upon in the staff report already,
Yeah.
right? Okay, good.
Which includes the window documentation. Yes.
Okay, we've got a second. Commissioners, please cast your vote.
Thank you.
It appears
Thank
that
you.
item has passed. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have HPCA-25-00094 at 2215 Northwest 25th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is in Shepherd, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Jonathan Reinke, Living Spaces LLC for Stuart Meyer Stewart Trust
I don't know where we are.
for certificate of appropriateness to 1, install canopy over side balcony, elective. The commission previously saw a different application for this property to do a more permanent kind of cover and enclosure at this rooftop on top of this side porch, essentially. It's a side porch that was previously enclosed, and they're asking to provide additional cover and enclosure on top of it to create a second story. That application was denied. They're back before us now with a proposal to just to leave it open, but to install a more permanent cover. The applicant provided 3 different options for a roof cover material, and staff has recommended approval of the canvas awning option as being the most consistent with what the guidelines support.
Okay. The applicant is present.
Present, John Reinke, and personal address 2304 Northwest 26th, here to represent for the owner 2215 Northwest 25th.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on this one? Any comments? Are we okay? Is your client okay with the cloth
Well,
canopy?
he definitely, would like me to make a case for the metal structures, just because it does prevent him from having, ongoing maintenance. And also the principal, the first of the 3 options that we presented, also has the advantage of being a very insulative panel. So, from that first 6 to 8 hours of a summer day, basically you've got no insulation there. Insolation as opposed to insulation. Anyway, but and interestingly, that particular material represents the least visual impact of all 3 of the solutions. It's a fairly clean finish. It's got pretty low sight lines. The material allows us to use fairly minimalistic support posts. Anyway, so on behalf of the client, I would definitely encourage everyone to take a second look at that and potentially give us an opportunity to put that in. So we definitely need to go forward with something, but that is definitely the preference, and those are the reasons why.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? There being none, Commissioners, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve HPCA 25-00094 with the conditions listed in the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion to approve with conditions. And I'm sorry, do we need to specify
That's
what
what the
material?
condition
They're
does.
That is,
listed,
I just
yeah.
wanted to make sure. Okay. Okay, we've got a motion to approve conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been approved with conditions. Thank you.
Okay, with conditions as listed, right?
Yes.
So, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Do I need to mention that Okay, before we go to the next item, I just want to add that in other business, item B, the informational presentation, that will not be taking place today. So if you are in the audience and you are waiting to listen in or speak on that item will not be heard today. Okay, next up, we're going to go to item 6, HPCA-25-00100 at 729 Northwest 26th Street. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is in Paseo, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Norman Schoonover, Pinnacle Image Homes for Manzalat Akandi for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct 2-story addition to the north facade of dwelling, elective, 2, reorganize front door and window and install storm door, elective, 3, remove front sidewalk and rebuild the front stair to align with new front door location, elective, 4, replace damaged siding of the historic house, elective, 5, construct 2-story garage, elective, and 6, replace driveway, elective, and 7, relocate fence, elective. This is a new application. The commission has not seen this one previously. It involves reorganization of the front facade of the house. It is believed, based on evidence at this structure and at a kind of sister, a very similar structure elsewhere in the neighborhood, that the front door has been flipped at some point in time. So they're putting that back to what we believe was the original condition and reconfiguring the front walk and stairs to align with that. So that's the bulk of the work to the historic structure. They've also proposed an addition to the rear of the dwelling that appears to meet all applicable guidelines and regulations, and a replacement of the siding that meets applicable guidelines, and then construction of a garage that this says 2-story. It actually appears to qualify as a 1.5-story garage. That is perhaps the most, the item worthy of the most discussion. It's a larger garage than what the guidelines support, but is in a location where there's no historic garage there currently. There's nothing that they're asking to demolish, and there are not a lot of other comparable garages along this area of the neighborhood to use as a basis for design. So we have recommended approval with unique circumstances and conditions for all items.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Yep, you can come forward. And if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Manzalat Akande, 729 Northwest 26th Street.
Okay. Okay, tell us about the project.
Okay, so first and foremost, I have a family of 5, 3 boisterous boys, and I work as an ICU doctor at the Children's Hospital. So in attempts to maintain my sanity, I'm trying to increase our living space so that the boys that are now a teenager and a preteen and my youngest can have adequate spaces for quality of life. So that speaks to adding the 2-story addition at the back, which currently, based on the design, is a total of 741 square foot up and down, which is within the guideline requirement of 750. Secondly, we also want to build a garage. And the reason for this garage is very awkward hours, 5 a.m., and I'm just, increased privacy as well as security for when we come in and out. And with this garage, also build a paved turnaround area. I might be messing up the terminology, but it's a paved turnaround so that we're not backing into the street. Because 2 weeks ago, as I was leaving my house at 5:30, I almost ran into a group of high schoolers that were on their track team, practicing. So we want to have that 1.5-story garage. And with understanding, and this is my first time of ever having a house in the historic district, but with understanding the guidelines and going through it and meeting severally with Angela and Katie, and very grateful for their help, we found out that there are certain, within the block, there are 2 addresses. One has, I believe, an accessory structure of 600 square foot. Another one has a garage that is 24 by 24. So it was based on that we decided that since they're similar structures, but we didn't want to go up to the max of 600 that were at least designed based on a footprint of 24 by 24. And based also on the guidelines, since I couldn't have a two-story, it looks like from the guidelines for the municipal, and I can't remember the code right now, but we are permitted, per se, to have a 1.5. So 1.5 meaning a 2/3 of the footprint can be built on top of the garage. So the garage second floor has 384 square foot, which is about 2/3 of the 24 by 24 square foot footprint of the garage. I think the other thing that we want to do is just down the road at 711 Northwest 26th Street is a very, very similar house. And the front elevation currently shows that the front door is not underneath the gable, which compared to the house down the street, which is very similar, their front door is underneath the gable. And then we did identify like a breakage in the siding that shows that this was replaced or removed. So we really would love to preserve that historic look as well as what seems to be intuitive for the arrangement of a door and front windows. With the creation of the turnaround, it'd be very important for us to relocate part of the fence so that we can accommodate that turnaround. And I hope I've touched on everything. Were there any particular? Yes, for the siding of the home, it's on the left side of the house, and we've determined based on calculations that is way less than 50% of that side of the house. So it's only on the left side of the house that we have identified damaged siding based on the inspection report when we bought the house.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioners, what questions do you have for the applicant or comments?
I mean,
Very
you know your
thorough.
stuff. I feel like I don't have any questions. You told us everything we need to know.
I have to commend Angela and Katie. I have tons and tons of emails of back and forth and phone call conversations, and they've been very, very helpful. I'm very grateful for them.
I think you did a really nice job. There's a ton of research in here, and I would feel really, really happy about approving it right now if nobody has a different opinion or no members of the public want to speak about it.
Yeah, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this item?
There is one condition listed here. I'm sure you've already read it, but are you comfortable with the condition that's listed in the report?
I know one about the windows,
Yes,
the
that's it.
glass. Yes.
Yes.
So I recently got information yesterday from Kobe and Obi Windows about the VLT, and that they do have the option of the lowest low E possible.
Okay.
To make sure that the glass is transparent and clear. Yes. So I got that as yesterday.
Great. Okay. Well, anybody have an issue with me moving this one along?
You can do it.
Okay. For HPCA 25-00100, I motion to approve items 1 through 7 with the unique circumstances, specific findings, and the condition listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve with conditions and specific findings in the staff report, and we've also got a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes.
Well done.
Yep.
Okay, that item has been approved. Thank you. Okay, next up, we've got HPCA-25-00101 at 3200 North Walker Avenue. Katie, tell us about this project.
This is Edgemere Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Mark Zitzow, Johnson & Associates for Oklahoma City Board of Education for certificate of appropriateness to 1, expand parking lots elective, 2, modify slope at northeast corner of property elective, 3, install dumpster enclosure elective, 4, install sidewalks elective, 5, relocate and reinstall chain link fencing elective, 6, remove concrete stairs elective, and 7, remove and relocate playground equipment elective. This is a proposal to add additional parking at what is now Trinity School. It was historically Edgemere Elementary. One lot is an expansion of an existing lot at the northwest end of the site, and the other is an expansion or a new lot kind of connecting to a circle drive with some parking at the southeast corner of the site. The commission has actually approved additional parking in similar configurations at this property multiple times before, and it's never been installed. So this is something that has been before us before and has been supported. Staff's only recommended conditions with this were to make sure that we verify through our documentation with the applicant that all requirements for parking lot, landscape screening, and street trees are being met. I think we've gotten that all pinned down, but wanted to go ahead and include that condition just so we make sure we get what we need there. That's not something the commission typically looks at. We don't see a lot of parking lots, but just make sure we have that all covered. And then the applicant did provide a topographical survey showing the change in grade that would be necessary for that northwest corner. I'm not an engineer. I think most of the commission are not engineers. I think it would be helpful to have like a section drawing or similar to show what's actually happening with that slope, because it is a pretty dramatic rolling terrace and it's going to have to be leveled out to some extent to accommodate a parking lot at that location. I will note we've had some inquiries from neighboring property owners to the south about the use of the alley. It's a fairly narrow alley between the school property and the commercial building to the south. There are dumpsters in the alley that really probably shouldn't be there. There's parking that occurs in that alley that probably shouldn't be occurring, but it's a heavily used alley. And so we've had some calls and some questions about what would happen with all of that, and I think the applicant can speak to that.
Okay, and the applicant is present.
Good afternoon, Mark Zitzow with Johnson & Associates, 20 Sheridan Avenue. Katie, if you wouldn't mind, I'll give you a heads up. If we could get the colored site plan, that would be ideal. So if you're unfamiliar, I believe it was in 2020, Trinity Schools took over this building. There are a school that works exclusively with children with learning disabilities. Over the years, they've expanded their grades and their staff because of it. And so right now they've got, I think it's about 40 teachers on staff, educators, and support staff. And then growing into high school has also led to an increase in vehicular traffic, as you can imagine. There are some students that have the ability to drive and do so to the campus. That has led to an issue that we are trying to prevent becoming an exacerbated issue of parking on all of the surrounding streets and it bleeding in. We've tried to design a parking lot in what we believe to be the most minimally invasive way into the site, and that is we're rotated, but on the southern end, it's extending the long linear parking lot, wrapping the corner, and then taking the access off the alley, and then expanding the pavement on the northeast corner that was already there, used for some parking and used for kind of back of house services. I'll start by saying we have no issue with any of the conditions. The grading that's occurring isn't, and we agree to provide a section to Katie and staff, that's fine. We're not flattening that. You're still going to have that terrace to prevent what would be like a 12-inch barrier curb from being seen from the street. We're actually putting a little bit of fill on to slope it back toward it, so you still have that rolling green space. If it was the desire to ensure that that two of those trees on the north end were kept, we're fine keeping that what's a little less than a foot barrier curb so that the trees could remain there. Either way, we're amenable to that. We received a call yesterday. Jessica Bloy in our office spoke to one of the property owners, I believe, to the south. They had some issues with public notice that went out. Our office does not send public notice on these applications. That's the city's role. So I'll let them speak to that. They might bring that up. In that a tenant received it and the property owner didn't. I can't speak to that. We did not receive a call back after we sent the plans. It was relayed to us through another party that there were concerns about parking and the dumpsters that are currently placed on the school property that are not the schools. And Katie mentioned it, it's a 15-foot wide alley, it's paved, it's a public platted alley. I think anyone who has access to it has rights to use it. The parking, what we believe, that is on the north side is illegally placed, it's illegally paved, it's not concrete, it's not asphalt, it appears to be some form of a gravel. The dumpster is not screened, it's not in an enclosure, which I think violates the guidelines, both in the zoning code and likely the HP guidelines. So we're happy to answer any questions, and we're happy to connect them with our client if they want to see if they can work something out on those items. But it's my belief that parking and the dumpster locations that are on our property are not within the purview of this commission to require us to put that on our property. It is up to the business owners to ensure that they have safe, secure trash pickup for their own properties on their own property. So with that, happy to answer any questions. We would ask for your approval today, though.
I have so what about the dumpsters? I'm sorry, I'm not following this. They don't belong to the school, but they're on your property?
Correct. So this is a bit blurry kind of image of this. There's a dumpster that is on the school's property on the north side of the alley. That's not our dumpster. We believe it belongs to someone on the south. Concern was raised that if we do this, their dumpster won't be allowed to be there, which is correct because it's not their property. So they'd have to move it, figure out where to put it. And again, we're open to connecting them with the school, and they can have a private conversation and work that out privately if there's a path forward there. But that is not part of our application, nor is the parking that is illegally placed on the north side of the alley.
Okay.
Do you have that picture in your packet somewhere?
Here's a Google Street View. Of course, the sun's right in the way, but you can see there's kind of, like that curb is the end of the alley and the start of the school's property. But set within that, on the school's property, presumably is a dumpster here, and then people park there for those businesses. And then if I go to the
Yeah, randomly, I can actually speak to this because I was eating at Red Rooster last week and my toddler was being a nightmare, so I took him outside and we were walking around and we walked through the alley while we were waiting for our food and while I was trying to calm him down. And yeah, it's a disgusting dumpster. There's grease everywhere. There's trash littered around it. There are cars kind of all over the place, broken glass from bottles and stuff. So like it does need to be cleaned up and it's not the school's problem. Frankly, like, sorry for Red Rooster and 30th Street Market, but yeah, they need to figure that out.
So we're not actually talking about the alley, we're just talking about the overflow that they've kind of claimed?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Correct. Yeah, our application is simply for the two parking areas that we've shown and submitted.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have members of the public that wish to speak on this item? And as a reminder, when you come to the podium, please state your name and address.
I'm Scott Spradlin with Hartzog Conger Kaysen at 201 Robert S. Kerr Avenue. I'm here to speak on behalf of Citicorp LLC, the owner of the property immediately south of this property, which has, I think, 9 tenants in the property. And I do not dispute the fact that the parking in the alleys is not permitted. It happens. It's just the way life is. The real problem here is the queuing up of cars to drop off and pick up children. I realize this is not to alleviate that situation, but I think the entrance and exits into and from and into the alley might invite that. I have a question whether or not the northwest corner of the new parking lot on the south, will it be right? Oop.
There.
Yeah, right there where it says L3910. Is that going to be accessed? Can you access that parking lot from the north?
Yes, it's the intent that the parking lot is going to function as one. We're using the existing drive off of Walker and then also 2 curb cuts off of the alley. We understand that school traffic has increased, which is partially why we're doing this. I think part of the hope is also that parents have the ability to now park and walk a child into the school to alleviate the queuing. But that's partially why we're adding the additional pavement. We don't anticipate, the school is not going to be sharing that they should be queuing through the alley. They don't anticipate that changing. That southern lot is really for staff parking.
If that's the case, I don't see why first of all, I should say that my client donated part of her property rights along Walker to enable the city to get handicap parking as required there. And then And also in return, it's not in return for payment, but in return for the city agreeing to pay that alley to make it a functional alley. It was very rough and irregular surface as well as irregular width. So she bargained for that, and in return for that, she gave up part of her property rights along Walker. Then she gave they purchased from her another 10 feet right up against her building to further enable the handicapped access through there. So now it looks like to me what's going to happen is that they're going to use that. I think whether they like it or not, just like some of the people that park in that alley, some of the patrons are going to come and use that as a queuing area as opposed to being out on Walker. So it seems to me if it's just for staff or student parking, if the kids are old enough to park or drive, then just close off the entrances, allow no entrances along the alley so it can function as the alley which she bargained for, and then have them enter from the north, from off of Walker into the north, have signage that says staff and student parking only. And if there's no exit onto the alley, then they won't queue up down the alley as opposed to out onto Walker. So I think that would be an acceptable solution. And I'm not here to try to argue that we have a legal right to park in the alley, or the dumpster issue. I think there was a revocable permit for that dumpster. I don't know all the background facts on that, but it seems like to me this could, with the expansion of the student population, this could exacerbate the queuing problem and shift it. I don't think it's going to alleviate much off of Walker, but it's going to put cars into the alley.
When you say the queuing problem,
they queue up to drop off kids and to...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like twice a day, morning and afternoon.
Right, morning, about 8 o'clock they start.
I think the thing is, we can't police that here.
Yeah.
Well, you can
nothing-
limit your certificate of approval to minimize the impact of that.
I mean, we can put language in there, but we can't enforce it. I mean, how the schools, it seems like the issue is it's a little bit more on the school of how they're working with parents on picking up the kids, on where they're queuing.
Well, he's saying if we didn't approve those cuts into the alley,
Right.
then that wouldn't occur.
I do think you're right that it's going to be a big problem. It is at the other elementary schools too, with or without an alley. I mean, it's madness trying to go to any elementary or middle school in the urban core 8 or 3 o'clock.
What we've got
I think
here
it
is-
will be a problem. I just don't know how our commission solves it.
Sorry, I just wanted to add something really fast. To not have, those cuts into the alley, you would need, because that's one-way parking right now, so you would need that access to get out. So to not do that, you would need 90-degree parking, at which point, without eating more into the school's property, you would only be able to get one row of parking in, which means you're losing 7 or 8 more spots, which then would further exacerbate the queue. If parents are not parking there or staff is not parking there, there'd be more people parking in the street, so on and so forth. So I think you're just moving the problem a little bit.
Well, you're assuming that the school is limited to the area that they've designated. If you look, they've got a lot of extra land there. I know that Mark is very familiar with scavenging parking out of playgrounds. I've worked with him on another issue exactly like that, and he was helping us on that. So, if you look at the north and east of that parking lot, they've got a lot of ground there. They could move that playground equipment further north and create a circular, circulation in there.
I have a question, and I drive past it every morning during queue, and never run into a problem, believe it or not. I'm very impressed. Unlike Wilson, that seems to be everybody's parked at every corner and parents and kids are crossing all over, and it's a very slow process through there. But in front of Trinity, I never encounter an issue. Now, I haven't been through there in the afternoon, so tell your client thank you for that. But this is just a thought on my end. In the evening times or when school is not in session, is that new parking lot going to be closed off, or is it going to be available for use by patrons of the area around there?
People absolutely park there. in
Well, no,
the
no,
evenings.
I'm asking him, are they going to have gates so that they close it at night
Oh,
so
gotcha.
people can't close it, or will it be available?
There are no gates proposed as part of this application. I can't speak to what my client allows, doesn't allow for use after, but to the commissioner's point, I have been by several times, and there are people parked there often. So I don't think that they're enforcing no parking there.
Right,
after.
and that's what I was saying, is I do see that used after school hours routinely for parking for the Paseo or for your client's building and things like that, and I do believe it's an asset, and I can see actually where this additional parking, unless the school's going to put up gates and close everything down, for it actually being an asset to your client versus being something where it ends up being a problem for 2 small periods of the day.
So Katie, as an HP commission on this one being a little different than our normal, is our charge to how will this increase traffic or decrease, or, I mean, is that kind of what our charge is on this?
Our charge, no, not at all, actually. Your purview has nothing to do with traffic or with the function of the parking, and should it be one-way, should it be two-way? It is this appropriate at this historic school within this historic neighborhood, or is this an adverse effect? We have guidelines that have been addressed each time this has come before us that say parking at non-residential properties should be located behind the building, minimally visible from the street. And each time this has come to us, our unique circumstance has been that the function of this property, being a school with a playground, with outdoor activity space, justifies placing the parking along the edges and the perimeter rather than tucking it behind the school where you would eat up the whole playground. That's really the primary consideration for the commission, is whether or not the parking as it's proposed, the landscaping as it's proposed, is an appropriate modification to this historic school. I certainly understand concerns from property owners, concerns about the traffic flow, but I think that's something that has to be worked out between the property owners and the school. That's not for the commission to solve.
And I would just add that we're trying to carry the existing parking lot line further to the south and wrap it. So to another commissioner's point, we've tried to minimize the amount of impervious cover. We need the curb cuts onto the alley, which is a public alley. I think it's worth noting, like, we did all of the engineering, all of the planning work on the Page Woodson development, a historic school that did not have the opportunity for another school to come in and keep it as a school use, redevelop that entire site. If this would have been anything else other than a school, the parking demands would have been significantly more. And what this commission, and if it went to planning commission, city council would have required, is access off of that alley, because what the comp plan says for Oklahoma City is traffic, when an existing improved alley is there, should be used for access. So we believe we're achieving not just the HP guidelines, but the planning department's multiple other guidelines when it comes to access.
I will say, I think something that's not in the application, unless I just skipped right over it, but that I would strongly encourage, is robust directional signage with the ins and outs and one-ways, because I could certainly see, as a parent at a school who does drop-off and queuing that has an unusual parking lot configuration because it's an old school and that's what happens, just signs help.
We will relay that.
I think that should be a condition of the certificate of appropriateness because, well, first of all, I don't see why they couldn't use a little bit more of their open space. The problem is this is an historic school that was never a high school, and it was a neighborhood school. Trinity's not a neighborhood school. Trinity is a special needs school, so kids are brought in from other locations. They don't walk there. I mean, maybe some of them do. But for the most part, they have to be transported to the school. And now they're expanding to a high school with kids that can drive. So it's not the same historic school when the Edgemere Robins used to play in the baseball teams that I played on. And so I think it can be redesigned to accommodate their objectives without adversely impacting the property to the south. Now, they do queue up on, you may not have been there, Mr. Wood, but they do queue up along Walker and prevent parkers against my client's building from being able to back out. They can't get out onto Walker during those periods of the day. And if they queue up, and I don't think there's anything, maybe the signage would help prevent them from queuing up or trying to use that new parking lot as a queuing station. Obviously, gates would be even better, but I know that's expensive. Anyway, I think that's just going to transfer the problem to the very alley that my client gave up part of her property rights to improve. Now, again, I'm not here to say that the parking in the alley is legal. If it's on their property, it's not legal, and that's not why I'm here. But it looks like to me, with a little bit of redesign and use of some of that open area, they could create a parking situation to achieve their parking objectives and also allow exits through there without having to circulate into the alley, use it as a private driveway.
And I might respond just to two of those points. One, the use of the school and the grades in the school, I don't believe is relevant to the conversation. The land use is permitted there. That's not what we're here asking approval for. Unfortunately, during Pathways to Greatness, most of our neighborhood schools are no longer neighborhood schools, which is why you see Wilson and every other one with significant queuing because students aren't walking from the neighborhood anymore. That is not an issue that is unique to this particular school. We have made a conscious effort to minimize the amount of paving, which is why we didn't which is why we didn't expand into the track area, right? Like, we purposefully minimize the amount of paving. Unfortunately, while I understand that there's queuing problems along Walker that's maybe blocking some of their parking, the reality is the way that is solved is to allow the queuing to have occurred in the alley, because you pick up several hundred more feet of queuing, not on the public street, but rather on a secondary public access, which I know they don't want, and we're not advising that we would do. But if queuing became that big of a problem, it's not the parking lot reconfiguration that needs to occur. It's that they should queue all the way through the alley and then stack all the way through the parking lot north to the drop-off door. That gives way more space for queuing, but we understand that's not what they want. But if that's the real problem, that a car might be in the way of somebody backing out, well, then queuing through the alley twice a day is probably the solution.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of taking up more of the grass, because I think that is one of the problems with Pathway to Greatness is, Wilson lost their playground, a good portion of it. You're taking some of this playground. I'm not in favor of schools continuing to take outdoor space for kids. I don't want them playing in the parking lots. But
especially if we want to talk about the historic context of the school anyway. If you're removing half of the open space for parking.
Right. I mean, I'd be in favor of approving this. I would recommend signage. I think that would be appropriate, and move for approval if there's nobody from the audience.
We do have a representative from Public Works. I think you may have just been here to answer any questions, but if you have anything you wanted to add to the conversation.
Well, Ms. Katie, I don't know that I have a lot to add. My name is Mike Clark. I'm a staff person within Public Works. The records show that the alley north of Northwest 30th between Walker and Hudson is a public alley. It was reconstructed as part of the work that's going on in the Paseo and Walker Streetscape projects that's funded via the Better Street, Safer City program. I did show the information that was available in your packet to the city engineer and the assistant city engineer today. I think both are open to continuing to review that information as it comes in through permitting. They did have several concerns. The first concern was that there is a sidewalk and a ramp on the north side of the alley on the east side of Walker that makes up a contiguous ADA compliant pedestrian path. They wanted to make sure that that remained in the final product. They did have a concern about the obstructions that currently occur in the alley, either legally or illegally. They hoped that the property owners, both on the north and the south sides of the alley, could work together to find perhaps locations and easements that would allow those obstructions to be removed and keep the full 15-foot width of the alley available. And then they did share the concern of the queuing, particularly westbound on 30th and northbound on Walker. They would just like that to be part of the concern and part of the continued discussion that goes on. They were looking for maybe confirmation that the approaches out of the alley into the parking weren't being looked at as part of a circulation path for the queuing itself. So having said that, I would certainly try to answer any questions that y'all have, but I think that was probably a quick assessment from Public Works.
And all of that review will occur at the building permit stage with them. That is normal and typical. We, of course, will ensure that there is continued ADA access if that ramp needs to be reconfigured. That is done so as part of this project's cost, not on the cost of the city.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Yeah, come forward. And again, please just state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Cassie Macias. My physical address is 2825 Northwest 47th Street, but I am speaking on behalf of Red Rooster, 3100 North Walker Avenue. I don't have a lot to say, but the 30th Street also, so to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but there has to be a front and a back door to the businesses. Our back door at 30th is directly on that alleyway. If anybody's been through that alleyway, minus taking out the, what they are proposing, taking up the parking structure to what she had mentioned is like gravel, what have you. That alleyway is very narrow. It's probably a little bit bigger than a UPS truck. So I am just only throwing out this information because that business uses that as like an entrance and exit for their employees. Not only their employees, but we also use that for deliveries pretty much every day, probably except for Mondays. And we have consistent delivery drivers going through there, dropping off deliveries and what have you. They don't go through the front, obviously, because there's like large orders of kegs, big boxes of wine, etc. So I just wanted to share that information if that's helpful at all. Yeah, I just wanted to put those 2 cents in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have other members of the public? Yeah, please come forward.
My name is Scott Buxton. I live right now at 33,004 North Robinson, but I own a property in Edgemere Park at 434 Northwest 35th Street, my wife and I. Interesting, Edgemere is both my mom and my son went there, so I got a connection to the school. I met my son there, actually. I also work at the Red Rooster, and I work for the Gauchos at the Red Rooster. Been there ever since it opened. And I think it would both detract from the neighborhood as well as from the property itself to have the alleyway provide a driveway for the students. I think that I don't think it would work in the neighborhood. And as far as the businesses there, I mean, we have to take deliveries through that back door, whereas there's not to mention the parking, but I'm sure the dumpster in the parking can be arranged in a proper way. But I just think that to provide that alley for a driveway for the school, I just don't think it'd be a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Do we have any other members of the public that wish to speak? Thank you.
My name is Joy Reed Belt, and I own the Venerable Red Rooster building, which is the oldest bar and grill in Oklahoma. despite what somebody in a small town says about theirs. But we've duked it out several times. And you know, we are all for that school. And we're all for its new mission of special needs kids. And we know a lot of the parents that go there. We know some of the students that go there. The queue line is substantial. We have to block out almost an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon that I know that my staff, the Heritage Property Office is right there, and I know that if I need my staff to come see me at my gallery down at the other end of Walker, that there are 2 times during the day that I absolutely cannot get them, nor can anybody else. I sat and made a list back there, and in that Red Rooster building, we have, I think, 8 different offices. 4 of those are food service. Oh, here, he brought it to me. We've got Heritage Property Office, we've got the Red Rooster, the Prairie Gypsies, which has been there for almost 30 years. We've got Jack Fowler, an artist. We've got Prairie Art Stained Glass. We've got the Market, and that's a food service. We've got Cityscope Construction. We've got an art storage there. And the Holy Rollers, they've just moved from the Plunge, and they're making their donuts now in that building. And so we do have food service trucks. We have trucks that come and pick up grease. It is a busy alley, which is why I donated land so that alley could be paved. Because for years, I worked with gravel alleys and a mess, a real mess all the time. So when they were down there doing the streetscape, I spent considerable money so that alley could be paved and the city of Oklahoma should have a better circumstance. So I don't think using that alley at all, I mean, a grease truck is a big truck. Things that traverse there, that have to traverse there, I don't see how you're going to do that with the parking. And we feel like that we have been very accommodating to the parking. I can't speak to the garbage that you found at the gallery because every time I go by there and I see garbage, I'm on my cell phone telling somebody to clean up the garbage. But we're willing to work with the school, but I just don't think that using that alley is the best way to do it. And I think that they have some land that they can rethink it and make the whole we're a system, you know, and make the whole system work. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being willing to do your job.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do think it's a really fair and reasonable consideration to think through how we're not going to negatively impact small local businesses.
Sure.
They do have a lot of green space. I have kids in public schools. I have had kids at Wilson when Pathways to Greatness changed a lot of things. We didn't, though, lose green space because of Pathways to Greatness. We lost green space because we requested to lose green space because we asked for a new gym and a new playground. So they didn't take it away because of that. It is highly functional, and we did have to make use of what we had to get what we wanted. So I don't know, it's a tricky spot to coexist, but I do think that's a really valid consideration that there are a lot of people using that, and we don't want to see these businesses suffer because a mom who doesn't know any better has blocked this alley while her kid has forgotten its backpack, and that sounds like an obscure scenario, but it's not. I pick up kids and drop off kids twice a day, every day, and it's definitely not an obscure scenario. So I do think we should kind of think this one through carefully about basically making that alleyway a street.
I mean, I do agree. We don't want to impact small local businesses negatively, for sure. Like, I work in the area and I eat at 30th Street Market 1 to 2 times a week. Like, I'm there all the time and I love the businesses. But it's an alley and no one business has more right to use it than another business. And I think we have to be fair to the surrounding businesses that are using it, that everyone gets to use it if they need to. And I understand the issue with delivery trucks and grease trucks and all that, but
I think when the building made it into a city responsible alley to make it a road, which gave the responsibility to the city, then you lose some of that right to use it for your private use.
But are we not effectively allowing the school to use it for its private use? I mean, I'm a big advocate of the school and of public schools in general and the reuse of this space, but I mean, just by the flow identified in that parking lot.
So what I will say is that Chapter 59 of the municipal code allows alley access to be used for, if you abut an alley, you legally have the right to access to and from the alley for parking, access to your property, et cetera, so long as you can take primary access off of another street, which obviously they have the entire block. What they have proposed is allowed by the zoning code. Can we talk about whether or not there are more functional ways to do that? Absolutely. I would argue that that's really not the commission's expertise or purview, and it would encourage, the applicant to continue some conversations with surrounding property owners. But they have the legal right to install a parking lot and access it from the alley, coming and going. So I really think if we denied that and they appealed, it would immediately be overturned because they're allowed to do it. Now, if we denied it on the basis of something relevant to the historic preservation ordinance, that's another matter and another discussion. But I think I hear and I empathize with all the concerns about the neighboring property owners that use this alley, and obviously they're not allowed to leave cars parked in the alley and block the alley either. But I think in the consideration of whether or not to approve it, they're allowed to use it. They're allowed to install a curb cut from it. They're allowed to access their parking lot from it. We can't deny that because we think it's going to inconvenience someone else.
And there is likely nobody in this city more sympathetic to alley issues than me. And it's one of those, if you know it and have heard the story, you understand it. Unfortunately, the city does not maintain alleys. It is a huge problem that 100 years ago, these were dedicated to the city, and at some point in the 70s and 80s, the city decided to throw something in their subdivision regulations that says, we're not responsible for the public way we've accepted. It is a huge problem. So I'm extremely sympathetic that they were able to work something out to get it paved, but ultimately it is still a public alley that those business owners at any point could have sought a closure and a vacation to assume that alley, to make it theirs privately. That isn't the case. It is public, and to Katie's point, we have legal right to access it. And again, that is what, if we went to the Planning Commission and we're asking for approval, they would be likely requiring us to take access from the alley. That's what almost every urban design commission requires of any applicant with even unimproved alley. They want to see them improved, and they want to see that the vehicular traffic go onto those. So we don't disagree that we have green space. We just don't want to use it as parking. We think the way we have it works for the flow. We think we're taking access in a legal, correct way. And because of that, we ask for your approval. And again, I'm happy to connect the school with the neighbors. Mr. Spradling, we can have conversations about it. The alley is not going to be any more obstructed. The reason they might think that it's not obstructed now when there's a grease truck and then a delivery truck comes through is because they're driving onto our property to get around it. But that's not a different situation than any alley.
And I just want to be clear.
That's where the gravel parking that's being there is how it is effectively wider.
Right.
15 feet is 15 feet. If two people can't cross or can't get by each other, one's got to back out. That is how it is in Bricktown. That's how it is in downtown. That's how alleys work across the country.
I don't dispute any of that, and I know that that's factual. I mean, yeah, I have tons of alleys in my neighborhood. We use them all the time for all sorts of purposes. We see them appear all the time. It's, for me, the traffic flow, creating like the inflow, outflow, where that it is logically going to be used as a lot of drop-off and pickup, and just the experience of having seen that play out over the years at schools. So I'm not going to vote to deny it. I would encourage you to consider it.
Do we have any other members of the public that wish to speak on this item that haven't done so already? Okay, commissioners, do we have any other questions for the applicant or for staff on this, or any additional questions? Katie, depending on what, if this was approved, does this go to planning too, or is it, this is, stops, okay.
It'll just be for a permit.
Okay. But like a normal application, this one could be, it can be approved, it can be denied, it can be continued. So, I mean, that would be an option if we just can't seem to get there to say continued and we want the parties in this room to get together and come back.
I have a question, and I know we're not in charge of traffic, but what I'm sitting up here listening to both sides, and I find myself confused as to, unless the school is saying they're going to route their queuing along Hudson? Is that Hudson? And come through the alley, which they can do currently, and come out on Walker, I don't see how these curb cuts in the alley change the current queuing problem one way or the other. To me, it just gives more options on how you can queue. But the current queuing problem is unchanged by these access points, if I'm understanding the conversation correctly. It's still going out on Walker and along 30th currently, right?
Correct.
Right now, the queuing is just on Walker.
Right.
Right.
So
It goes on 30th and turns right. It goes on 30th and turns right.
It's not on Hudson.
So these curb cuts would effectively change 30 feet of Walker?
I don't think they're going to change anything.
40 feet of Walker? If it went through the alley?
It's still going to go the exact same route
Make sure you're
it's
speaking
going
in the
now.
mic.
I'm sorry.
Speak in the mic,
Okay,
yeah.
I think it's going to put queuing in the alley that's not currently in the alley.
I don't understand how that would be possible unless you're going to propose queuing on Hudson Alley.
Well, because cars can turn down into the alley and still get into the school property.
I understand, but the site plan, the logical path, you wouldn't cut into the alley to save 40 feet of Walker frontage that's already blocking the entire property owner's parking.
I'm sorry, say again? Yeah.
So the only benefit of going into the alley, it would save queuing on the part of Walker that is north of the alley only, which has no impact to the property owner. So the queuing has got to be an agreement between the property owners to not create hardships, and I get all that. I guess what I'm failing to understand is how these curb cuts change anything.
Well, I think that's trying to predict the future. It just allows more traffic into the alley that can access the school property. I don't know. Nobody knows what's.
But right now, you could go to get to the school, you could go from Hudson, you could go through the alley, or you could go Hudson 30th Street to get to Walker. So you can take from Hudson, you could go alley, or you could go 30th Street, you're going to the same place.
I think it's a one-way alley.
Oh, okay.
So it's from Walker down.
Walker to Hudson.
Right. I guess my point is if you made an agreement during those hours that you'd prefer to have queuing in the alley and you scheduled your deliveries accordingly, you could theoretically save all the queuing along 30th. Avoid all the queuing along 30th and in front of your property.
But if it's
I don't think
if
there
it
is
stayed
any on
one way, then you
30th.
couldn't
I think
queue.
it's just Walker,
You couldn't
right?
queue into the school because you couldn't go down the alley that way.
You're still going to queue in front of 30th Street.
just
I mean,
not gonna
excuse
go
me, in
back
front
that
of the
far.
Heritage properties, going north.
Yeah, I understand. Am I missing something that cutting into the alley is not changing any of the queuing along Walker?
You're correct, because what you're implying is if you're queuing on Walker and you pull off into the alley to go up through the parking lot,
You haven't
you're
saved anything.
saving that 30 to 40 feet of difference of being on Walker versus being in the parking lot.
You haven't changed your queuing at all.
I think the way I was looking at
advantage
it,
of doing
just
it.
thinking through what I've seen at elementary schools over the years, is they're desperate to split up, like drop off and pick up for young kids versus old kids. So when I'm looking at it, I'm seeing two lines. I'm seeing, in Walker, out Walker, in alley, out alley. That's how I was visualizing it. Whether the school intends it to be used that way right now or not, that's how I was looking at it as a parent of elementary school kids.
I guess my point is it's a logistical issue that
It
is
goes from Walker
irrelevant
to
of
Hudson.
what the infrastructure is. The infrastructure just gives you the options or potential to do one thing or the other, but it doesn't change that it still has to be logistically coordinated.
And I think we can't make a decision on how something theoretically might get used. Like this meets code, it meets HP guidelines. It is allowed, it's appropriate, and I think that's our purview.
I agree, and I also believe that the additional parking will help alleviate current traffic concerns by having, how many additional parking spaces is it?
54?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. So, but I agree with Ms. Whitley that we're here to look at this and not really go off a bunch of what ifs and how things go. That's going to be between the school and the property owner, and whatever fights may come of that based upon what configuration they decide to use from year to year. It can change from year to year. So that's not what we're here for. I agree with Caitlin on that.
I think that's right.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments on this?
I thought that these.
Please, no, if you're going to come speak, you got to come back to the podium.
Back here, the four of us thought that the parking was reserved for teachers, for faculty and staff. The new parking is.
It's anticipated for staff in this area and students in the other one, but I mean, if a student parked there, I don't know that the school's going to tell them to move. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters who's allowed to park. Well, I don't think at the end of the day it matters who is parking there. Like, the school needs parking, they're providing it. I don't know what more there is to discuss in that regard. They come and go at generally the same time.
The students don't come and go at lunch or whatever?
Not to my knowledge. I'm happy to confirm that, but again, I think that's outside the purview of this application.
Any other questions, commissioners, or comments? Do we have a motion on this item?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve all the items on HPCA 25-00101 with the specific findings noted and unique circumstance and conditions noted in the staff report.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve with conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been approved.
Thank you.
Next up, we move into other business. We have BOA-16046 at 218 Northwest 28th Street.
This is in Jefferson Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by James Varnum to request a recommendation from the HP Commission to Board of Adjustment regarding an application for special exception to allow for home sharing. This is one that is in the HL overlay, so the requirement that the homeowner that it be their primary residence and that they be on site at the time of rental does not apply. Staff did not identify any concerns with the proposed home share and have provided a recommendation of approval to Board of Adjustment.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any questions on this? Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? There being none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval on BOA 16046.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Okay, that item has been recommended for approval. Okay, and we are not, I think I already stated that, but we do not have the informational presentation today.
Right.
So that takes us into, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, just to clarify, this item's going to come back as a request for a certificate of appropriateness next month. And they've revised the design significantly since what was turned in for the informational presentation. So decided to just bypass that for today.
Okay, thank you. That takes us into communications and reports. Administrative approvals.
Yeah, administrative approvals, no action required. As always, reach out to staff anytime if you have questions about any of those. We have one withdrawal, no administrative closings, and nothing to report from City Council. I did not get this on the agenda, but we do have, last month, I think we had an item on the agenda that was scheduled to go to Board of Adjustment. It was then rescheduled and is going tomorrow. That's an appeal of our denial of the garage at 442 Northwest 20th Street. So that'll be heard at BOA tomorrow.
Thank you.
And then nothing to report for Planning Commission.
Okay, anything from municipal counselor's office?
No.
Goodness, I almost stumbled over that one, didn't I? Okay, next meeting, the next regularly scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, October 1st at 2 p.m. at the Municipal Building, City Council Chamber. New applications for this meeting were received September 2nd, 2025. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, September 9th. The next regularly scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, September 10th from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. in the Embark Large Conference Room, Suite B at 431 West Main Street.
We talked previously about moving our workshops to the morning and doing those at 8:30. Because our schedule is published with the city clerk at the beginning of the year, this is what it says as regularly scheduled. But if that morning time seemed like that worked better for people, and we'll stick with that if that's okay.
Okay. So that one, I'm sorry. So that one will not be taking place?
No, it will, but
Just
we'll
in the
move it
morning.
to 8:30.
Okay, got it. Okay.
On September
10th.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll send an email
okay.
and make sure that that works for enough people that it's worth doing.
Okay, thank you. Any items from commissioners?
You will email about
Yep.
that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no items from commissioners. Okay, any citizens to be heard? Going to take it there are none. Then we can adjourn, 4:21. Thank you.